Yes, guys, all that we are hearing these days is tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. But here's the actual truth on Donald Trump's tariffs, where the idea came out of, and why he's attempting to do it. Described variously as a global crisis, a bombshell, and the biggest shock to the world trading system since the early 1970s, Donald Trump's barrage of retaliatory tariffs might seem to sum up the man himself. Unfathomable, deeply contradictory, yet applied with overwhelming personal force. Since early adulthood, the president has complained that other nations have been ripping off America. Now he believes it's his chance to get even. Yet, however, shocking, last Wednesday week's declaration might seem it's a mistake to dismiss as another Trumpian brainstorm, a theatrical gesture to be rescinded or reversed in a few days' time. Trump is deadly earnest. He believes in an aggressive, expansionist, mercantile United States. And if we want to understand this, we should look at the towering figure of another great tariff enthusiast, which was the 25th President, William McKinley. You can look that name up for yourselves. William McKinley. Governing from 1897 to 1901, McKinley was aggressive in his protection of U.S. industry and shameless in his hunger for new territory. The needs of America came first, and second and third. So if Trump's resort to tariffs tells us much about the source of his inspiration, the 47 president's naked expansionism is an even greater clue. We need to have Greenland, very importantly for international security, Trump said 2 weeks ago. We have to have Greenland. It isn't a question of can we do without Greenland. We can't, in Trump's opinion. It has been some time since the US has been quite so blatant in its threat to annexation. Apart from two tiny Pacific atolls in the 1920s, the last time it actually annexed anywhere was Hawaii, undertaken by Republican McKinley back in 1898. Although few Britons have heard of McKinley, it is becoming increasingly clear that he is the president who Trump intends to emulate. There are advantages to his choosing McKinley as his role model, but also plenty of pitfalls. McKinley's presidency saw large-scale American imperialist expansionism, which after his victory in the short and decisive Spanish-American War saw the US taking over Guam and Puerto Rico by treaty and buying the Philippines from Spain in 1898. McKinley also took over Eastern Samoa by treaty with Britain and Germany in 1899. Greenlanders might note that although Cuba was promised independence, in fact it remained under the control of the United States Army until May 1902, and the Philippines were ruled directly by America until 1946. Donald Trump's attitudes towards Greenland, the Panama Canal, and even Canada seem actuated by McKinley's expansionism, and it was no coincidence that one of Trump's first executive orders in office was to change the name of America's highest mountain back to Mount McKinley, reversing President Obama's decision to dub it Mount Denali in 2015, which is the name used by native Alaskans. After the week in which Trump imposed tariffs on every country in the world, it is little surprise that he has previously praised the McKinley Tariff Act of 1890, which raised average US duties from 38% to 49.5%. While campaigning in the Bronx last year, Trump said, "When we were a smart country in the 1890s, this is when the country was relatively the richest it ever was. It had all tariffs. It didn't have an income tax." The tariffs and tariffs alone created this vast wealth for America, Trump added on Truth Social soon afterwards. Then we switched over to income tax. We were never so wealthy as during this period. Tariffs will pay off debt and make America wealthy again. Trump's admiration was made even clearer last January when he told Republican lawmakers that his hero was the tariff king, quoting McKinley's words of 1888, that the protective system invokes the highest law of nature, that of self-preservation. There's every reason founded in justice why the American producer should in every way be favoured against a foreign producer whose products compete with his. If you want to share with the citizens of the United States their home market, then you must pay for the privilege of doing it. Yet for all that Donald Trump admires President McKinley for his imperialism and protectionism, there are serious pitfalls in emulating him. Tariffs helped stroke inflation in the 1890s, and a recession in 1893 that was the worst until that started by the Wall Street crash of 1929. Whereas in McKinley's day, Americans could enjoy nil income tax, government spending as a share of GDP was less than 3%, whereas today it is over 30%. Even with Elon Musk's Doge cuts, DOGE, it is hard to see the US returning to 1890s levels of social welfare. Moreover, much of what Mark Twain dubbed America's Gilded Age was built as a result of mass, largely unrestricted immigration throughout the 1890s. Something Trump pledged to stop and indeed reverse. Mineral extraction, however, was an important factor behind growth under President McKinley's, which is echoed today by Trump's slogan, "Drill, baby, drill." So now you know where the words came out of, drill, baby, drill. George W. Bush's Deputy Chief of Staff and McKinley biographer, Karl Rove, characterises modern America and McKinley as both having a rapidly changing electorate, an uncertain economy disrupted by new technologies, growing income inequality and contentious issues the two parties could not resolve. McKinley ran for the White House back in 1896 on the slogan, "The people against the bosses." successfully targeted voters with the newest technology and offered genuinely radical and highly controversial answers to the nation's problems. He portrayed his opponent in the 1896 election, excuse me, William Jennings Bryan, as a photo socialist, out of touch with the priorities of ordinary Americans. Mr. Trump's tactics against Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris spring from much the same playbook. There are differences, of course. McKinley was a loving spouse to his invalid wife and was both governor of Ohio and the last president to have served in the American Civil War. He preferred the title of Major to any other word. Excuse me. Whereas Trump survived an assassination attempt by inches in Butler, Pennsylvania, William McKinley was shot on September the 6th, 1901 by anarchist Leon Czolgosz and died 8 days later. In his last speech before he was murdered, McKinley seemed to row back on his protectionist policy, saying that the period of exclusiveness is past and that the US needed to open up foreign markets for its surplus goods. An approach not all in line with today's White House policy. Karl Rove's 2015 book, The Triumph of William McKinley, Why the Election of 1896 Still Matters, has proved to be one of the most impressive works of political prediction of modern times. And the name of that book again is The Triumph of William McKinley. Why the election of 1896 still matters. It showed how McKinley ended a period of political gridlock and totally refashioned the Republican Party, creating a governing majority that was to dominate American politics for the next 36 years, until Franklin Roosevelt won the presidency during the Great Depression. It is small wonder that Donald Trump should have chosen McKinley in his political lodestar. McKinley's successful imperialism should make Panama, Greenland and Canada beware that Trump means to be taken both literally and seriously. He really does believe, with his 19th century predecessors, that America and Americans have a manifest destiny to seize and control the resources within their grasp for the good of the entire world. The rest of us should read some history too. Okay, guys, that's the actual truth and where the idea come out of on Donald Trump's tariffs, which of course would affect most countries. And yes, guys, there will be plenty more truths being broadcast from time to time. And if you'd like to receive notifications when we do them, just hit the subscribe button, because it actually costs you absolutely nothing. Just you receive notifications if and when we do a broadcast. Okay, guys, enjoy your weekend. Talk to you. Bye bye.